Well, good afternoon, everybody, and how are you today? Welcome to Fundraising Bidness Talk. I'm Patrick Cyber, the principal auctioneer and owner of G Events LLC, your partner in the fundraising event business. I'm excited to have you here today, and want to make sure that you feel comfortable. Type in the chat, tell us, say hello, and let us know where you're from today. Also want to encourage you to drop any questions that you might have about our subjects today. Drop them in the box, and we'll answer them right here on the air, or give our best attempt to. So it's fantastic. Hey, one of the subjects that is on the top of my mind today is I've been seeing what's been going on in the fundraising auction world is sponsorship. And one of the things that I see a lot of groups leave on the table are sponsorships, and they do not spend a lot of time in this area. And I think that it deserves more attention, especially as we make the move and have made the move to the virtual event, and then moving forward into the hybrid event. I think that it is crucial that we take advantage of the opportunities that sponsorships provide us. So I'm going to chat today about sponsorships and kind of focus on really the best way to consider putting together your plan, and then also how to market them and how to promote them and make it easy for those who want to support you to become a sponsor of your event. I find that a couple of assumptions here. One is that most events at this point a lot of our clients seem to be run by committee. And I think that getting everybody on the same page and the communication elements and the logistics of executing sponsorships can somewhat be challenging in that environment. And that's why I think a lot of times they get left on the table. But one of the things that I noticed right away when we made this move to virtual events was that we went away from charging for tickets. We went away from having sales of tables because we no longer had the meal associated with our events. And I think that that's great because nobody got a cold meal. Nobody got the wrong meal. We didn't serve steak to a vegetarian request. There was a lot of positives about not having the meals at the events. But interestingly enough, those are all dollars that were spent supporting your nonprofit organization. And I think as we moved to the virtual, that we have to be aware of capturing those dollars in this new environment. So I have worked with several of my clients in putting together their sponsorship elements, and I wanted to share with you some concepts that I have found to be positive and give you some inventory ideas is what I would say. In other words, you have a sponsorship, and then that sponsorship is made up of benefits, and those benefits are in essence your inventory. And there is definitely a unique set of inventory in the virtual world, in the live stream world, and also in the online auction world relative to comparing to what we used to have in a traditional gathering event. So I want to share my screen a little bit with you folks, and let's take a look at some things. I think I've got this big enough for you to see. And of course, the replays reside on our Vimeo channel. So if you want to watch the replay and be able to stop and freeze and capture down, you can also drop me a line in a private message, and I will coordinate getting this document to you. But I just share with you a little bit about how I go about doing and organizing sponsorships. Is you'll see that I mentioned benefits. Those are what we're going to use to combine benefits to make a package. Okay. And when we do that, that will turn into the sponsorship that we actually offer to someone. And I'm going to walk you through what this looks like. This is kind of the down and dirty behind the scenes. But what I tend to do is I start with what I consider the least valuable item, right? Something that is, everybody should have in their package, let's say. And for example, in this list here, the first thing is a logo on auction-specific website. Well, with today's auction softwares, that's something that's incredibly easy to execute. And as long as the sponsor provides you with their logo, then it's easy to execute for you. And so I make sure that we thank all the sponsors on the auction website. So you'll notice that that's included in every package in this particular grid. The other thing, and the reason that I like to do that, is selfishly for the nonprofit or the organization hosting the event, is that when other folks tune into your website and they see all those company logos, that tells them that this is an event worthy of supporting. And so that's why I like to put it in the benefits of every package, because selfishly, it's great for them that they get the exposure as a sponsor, but it's also good for the organization because it shows that people are interested in supporting your cause and your event. So that is fantastic. So just to review, as far as the way I have this laid out, you'll see I have a list of benefits here, and then I have packages. Okay, and in this case, there's 5 packages. I find that keeping it fairly simple and keeping it so it's not too overly complicated is great in that committee environment, right? Instead of trying to customize, if it's me and our company selling maybe a golf tournament where I'm going to go out and do the sales directly, then I might customize packages for the prospect based on a list of benefits like this. And I wouldn't necessarily have set packages. But in this environment where we're going to rely on a committee to go out there and be our sales force, which is great, I tend to think that we need to put them in packages, almost like ordering off a menu is the best way I can describe it. So I think that that's a great way to do it. And I want to thank Tim again for joining us. It's always great to have Tim in the audience. Great auctioneer, does fabulous work. In fact, Tim's got a property in Northern California near Wairika. I just saw on Facebook today. If you haven't gone to Stewart Realty Group Inc. On Facebook, look it up. He's got a terrific property he's selling at auction that will be down in Northern California, I believe, later this month. So we really appreciate Tim tuning in and chiming in when he's got some good comments for us. So thank you. And then we put those in packages and according to price range, right? So as you can see quickly when you look at the grid, the package with the most benefits is going to be the highest priced package. So it's pretty straightforward, but I think it's easy for everybody to understand. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of these different elements. I talked about the logo on the auction specific website. The next item on here is listing on a category specific slide during the pre-show. What I mean by that is a category of sponsorship. And when I use the term listing, I'm implying that we're going to put the organization's name, not their logo, but their name on a category specific slide. And what I mean by category specific is, let's say that they're in the bronze sponsorship level. Let's assume that we went, like platinum level, gold, silver, bronze, copper, whatever that might be. But what we're looking at there is that when we get, and once again, this is in every package, right? So I always tend to think when I'm going to put multiple organizations or recognize multiple organizations on a slide in the pre-show, which runs prior to the start of the main live stream program, I don't want to see a bunch of different logos. I always, on one slide, I equate it to what you see at NASCAR, the race cars, right? There are so many logos on a race car or on a race driver's uniform that you don't see any logos. You can't tell what they are. The other thing I learned years ago in my former life with a production company was that for sometimes logos are better looking than other logos, and they might catch the eye. And even though they are the same level of sponsor as the other logos on that page, they may stand out and look like they're a bigger deal, right? And so whenever I put multiple companies on a page or in a recognition piece, I'm always going to use their names if it's multiple companies instead of their logos, just because I think it's more fair. And I also encourage you to put them in alphabetical order. Now, the other thing is that you'll notice that the next item on our list is a category specific slide during the live stream, right? So we did the pre-show. So the pre-show is that period of time when people are tuning in early to your live stream event. We created the pre-show because I wanted somewhere for folks who want to make sure they're at the right place, if you will, for the program, that they tune in early. And I wanted to make sure that they knew they were in the right place. So we created in essence, a PowerPoint. Sometimes we'll run some video in there if we have leftover video from the virtual that we ended up not using in the actual live stream program. But for the most part, it's just slides, and we'll have those on a rotating basis. So this is a great opportunity. It's a great way to thank sponsors in the pre-show. And it also, showcase some of the elements, show some beauty shots of the organization, kids having a good time, people, volunteers doing what they do to further the mission of the organization. So there's a lot of fun things to put in that pre-show. So it has value, and it's a great place to put a inexpensive way to showcase another sponsor. Now, when we do it during the live stream, like it says on the next level there, the next benefit, what that means is that we're gonna thank our sponsors during the agenda at some point. And when we do, if they're at a very high level, we'll acknowledge them by name. If they're in a lower level or a category, then we will identify them and refer to the slide on your screen. So in other words, we might say something to the effect of, hey, want to thank the following organizations for supporting our event this evening in our organization. And, their names are on the screen now, or I might, highlight a couple of them. But great way to do it during the live stream. So, compared to the old days of a business card size ad in the catalog that was distributed to the people who walked in the door, you have a much larger audience in this environment with a live stream. The next one is a recognition and a promotional advertisement. And this is another opportunity that I think not only benefits the sponsor, but it also benefits the organization. So when we talk about a promotional advertisement, today's world, for the most part, we're talking social media, but I think it's important, when you promote your event and say, we're so excited, the event's coming, here's the date, here's, our window for the online event, when bidding will begin, whatever it is, add a little thank you and put a, thank you XYZ company for your support of our organization. Easy to do, not difficult to do. You're going to run multiple posts, right? And putting them in there is a nice way for the sponsor to get some recognition. And once again, like I said earlier about the logo on the website, this also shows your audience that people are supporting your cause and supporting your organization. And I think that's crucial to your success, because that builds energy and gets folks interested in wanting to support. They, quite honestly, in a perfect world, we hope they see their competitors' ad on there, right? I know of a couple of communities around our area here where the orthodontists are incredibly competitive with one another. Okay. And when you see one orthodontist, you can guarantee the other one's going to be trying to sponsor next. And I've also talked to organizations who've told me that when they approach those organizations that they'll sometimes ask, hey, we'll sponsor, but we want to be the only person in that, in our business that's going to sponsor your event. What we call in the industry is exclusivity. In other words, if I was selling soft drinks and I was Coca-Cola, I'd say, hey, I'd sponsor your event, but I don't want Pepsi allowed in. I'm going to tell you that in the nonprofit world, I think it's a mistake to provide exclusivity to companies. At the end of the day, you are trying to raise money for your organization to further its mission. And I don't think you should exclude anybody from supporting you in this fashion, as long as it's within legalities and things of that nature. But I would highly encourage you to not provide exclusivity, because I think there's some incentive when an organization sees their competitor supporting a nonprofit that competitor wants to get into. So another good reason, serves both of you. Not only is it good for your sponsor, but it's good for your organization, shows the support that your group is getting. The other thing I think is a really nice way to do this, because this has some potential, is to dedicate a thank you post on social media, both your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter, whatever you're using to push out your message on social media. I would encourage you, when that sponsor signs up, and you can see in this one, I have it in the top 3 levels, right? Do a dedicated post that thanks them for their support. In other words, the XYZ Foundation is proud to announce that XYZ company is going to be our technology sponsor, or going to be as a bronze sponsor in our upcoming auction event. That's a really nice way to give credit to your sponsor. But it's also, I'm going to tell you to take it a step further. Reach out to that sponsor. Let them know when that post is going to be made, and encourage them to share it to their followers and to their audience, right? Because that'll benefit you once again when you can get that word out and encourage them to, they're telling, it's in their best interest, because they like to tell the community that they're supporting nonprofits, and it's good for you because they, when they share your name, hopefully somebody clicks on your event and they decide that they want to support you also. I want to encourage you folks, if you have any questions, hey, drop them in the chat box. Be happy to address them as we're going along here today. The next item we have is a logo on a dedicated slide during the pre-show. Once again, this is only at those higher levels, right? We're going to put their logo, that provides branding, makes them look better than those, or bigger deal, if you will. Shows they're more important to the nonprofit if you use their logo, but you're not cluttering it with a bunch of logos on their page, on the same page. So that's why I say a dedicated slide. I think it's always best. One logo per slide would be ideal. That way they stand out, they get the thank that they should deserve. The next one's kind of an easy one to execute and a fun one to execute for a lot of folks. And similar to the dedicated thank you post, is a 30-second testimonial to be posted on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever you're using, right? And this is where you ask the sponsor to share a little bit about why they are supporting your cause, and that you're going to put it on there, and to ask them to encourage others to support your cause, right? So they do this little quick video for you, and they shoot it over to you. I'm not talking about sending a production crew out. I'm not encouraging to spend a lot of money on executing this. Use your cell phone. I mean, the reality is that with technology today, that forward-facing camera on your iPhone or your Android is very, very high quality. And ask them to do a little message for you, sharing why their organization is supporting your nonprofit. It's a great testimonial, right? Once again, makes them look good in their customers' eyes that they're supporting nonprofits and making the community a better place to live and work. But it also, for you, shows that you have great supporters also, and those supporters will attract additional supporters. So think about that 30-second testimonial. I say 30 seconds, that's about as long as you want it to be. And you want to include that posted on your Facebook, your whatever social media accounts you're using, I think is fantastic. And then adding verbal recognition to the live stream. I kind of halfway touched on that a little bit earlier. I mentioned that, at our higher levels, we'll draw attention to a company's support. We might recognize their owner or their CEO, their chairman of the board, someone who is, a little bit more personal in a verbal recognition. We want to thank Tim Stewart with Stewart Realty Group, right? Something to that effect. the companies feel good about that recognition, and it's good for you too. So, and then the last, or not the last, but the next one is an opportunity to provide a 30-second testimonial video on your live stream. So we talked about putting it out on social media, but the reason that your sponsor is supporting you is, yes, they want to support you, but they also want exposure to your audience, right? And so at those highest levels, in fact, I only put it in the highest level on this grid, is an opportunity for the company to address. We've all been to the gathering event where the big sponsor gets up and talks about his organization for a couple of minutes, and having written a lot of runs of show and being the auctioneer, I see some people are better at that than others. Sometimes we call it hijacking the microphone. They can go on and on and on and on and on, and they turn it into a commercial. And unfortunately, that doesn't resonate sometimes with the audience. Others are really good about it, right? But when you give them the opportunity to provide a 30-second testimonial on your live stream, now it's recorded, so you control it, right? And you can coach them on the things that will be the right things to say to your group, and they look good and they appreciate that. And then that resides, right? That resides on that live stream. So the live stream has a long lifespan comparative to that event that started at 6 o'clock in the ballroom and ended at 9:30, right? Once that event's over, it's over. But that live stream event continues to live on the internet, on your YouTube channel, on your Vimeo channel, whatever way your organization is promoting it. So that's a high valued benefit for that sponsor to be able to make a testimonial right on the middle of your program, right? And then a couple of other things we always incorporate, or not always, but we incorporate at the highest level, is recognition in every promotional advertisement post the commitment. So let me break that down for you a little bit. This is an opportunity for that highest level sponsor to be incorporated, whether it's into the name or the event of the logo. So it could be the XYZ nonprofit auction presented by ABC company, or it could be, hosted by, presented by, something along those lines. Maybe you even want it to be the ABC company, hoedown benefiting the XYZ nonprofit, right? Whatever it is, but that's at the highest level. And I always encourage you, you're only going to have one of those, right? So make sure that you that you make it at the make it special for that person, and make sure it's a good fit for your organization. Excuse me. So wonderful opportunity for you. Top level organization supporting you, highest price package. Use their name and incorporate it and their logo into your event logo. So that's all fabulous. I also want to talk about some other optional benefits that you could use to make a package. We've had situations where even in the last year where we had these higher level packages and they sold out quickly, and we had to come up with alternatives, right? Because people were asking, hey, we want to be at that level. We want to give you that money. We don't like to leave those dollars on the table. But one of the things that we'll do is we'll build a package, and then we might, build a package at one of these lower levels, but then we'll add a paddle raise recognition in the sponsorship fee, right? So in essence, let's say that someone wants to buy this package, and on top of that, want to make a $2,500 donation. Okay, but they only want to write one check, or they only want to pay one time, and they don't want to have to tune in. They don't want to have to be present at your gathering event. So don't be afraid to incorporate paddle raise amounts and recognition right in your sponsorship fee. It can be a really powerful tool for you. It's also a lot easier. I think I see a lot of times, I'll see organizations that became a sponsor at a gathering event, they have a table, they'll have a full table of people, and nobody raises their paddle during the paddle raise. And there's a reason for that, because that sponsorship was paid for with a corporate checkbook, and those paddle raises might be coming out of their own back pocket, right? So sometimes it can be easier to get a bigger check out of the corporate checkbook than out of the individuals working for an organization. So don't be afraid to offer a paddle raise amount and then recognition into that sponsorship fee to boost the sponsorship fee up. The other idea, and I spent some time talking about this here in one of my earlier episodes, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but that is to use sponsorship to underwrite a live auction package. Somewhere where someone has is going to basically underwrite the cost or the reserve price on a consignment package. Just a perfect example where you could go out and do buy a trip that, let's say, I'm going to use an example, a Mexico trip that might have a reserve price or cost to the nonprofit organization, let's say of $1,000, but the value of the package might be $4,500, $4,500. Well, that can be incredibly powerful to a sponsor to think that they can underwrite that trip so that now it's in the live auction. So when we're, as an auctioneer, selling that package, we'll thank XYZ company for providing this incredible package valued at $4,500. Well, you, I, and the sponsor know that they paid a lot less than that. And why I said a lot less is because I'm going to encourage you to add to that reserve price to cover the value of the benefits, right? The advertising that you're going to give that company and all those other things. So if it was $1,000 package cost to you, I might charge them $1,500 to be the underwriter of that live auction package. So keep that in mind. Make a little profit there. That's best for you and your organization, right? And then another area, to finish that point, nice thing about consignment is most of the time we can use those as hidden doubles or just in multiples in general. And every time we multiply it, we're going to give that company credit. So incredibly powerful tool to use in sponsorship is the underwriting of live auction items. And the last thing I'll say about that is that it can be a great replacement in a virtual event for that supporter who bought a table last year and you don't have any tables to sell them this year. If you think about it, those tables usually anywhere from $500 to $25 to $5,000 for a table. So, that's money that they wanted to support your organization with, but now you don't have that table for them, right? And the reality is they didn't buy it because they got the steak dinner. As much as we love banquet food, I don't believe that's why they did it. I believe they spent those dollars because they wanted to support your nonprofit. So what I would encourage you to do is give them an opportunity to support your nonprofit again, but this time giving them the opportunity to do so by underwriting a package. The other nice thing is that let's say your tables are less expensive. Maybe they're $500 a piece. Maybe you bundle a couple of those former table buyers together to put something in the auction that you wouldn't have normally rolled the dice on, right? Because the costs are covered. Then you turn around and you start that pricing. You're not worried about covering the reserve. It's all about how much you're going to make for your organization. And so start that bidding low. Let the auctioneer guide you on that process. So as we always say, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. But we know the lower we start, the higher we're going to finish. So very, very positive opportunity. So that gives you a sense of how we would put together a sponsorship grid. I want to remind you, especially in this live stream environment, please keep in mind that live stream lives on in the replays available on the internet. It also gives you an opportunity to repurpose that video, to thank people utilizing that video on your social media posts, on your website, things of that nature. So the value to the sponsor of these new virtual formatted events is so dramatically higher than what they traditionally received in the standard gathering event. It's night and day, folks. And so don't be shy. Make sure you price it accordingly and ask people, because that's the number one deal. So let's move into that. How do we ask, right? One of the things that I mentioned earlier when we started today was how I know it can be challenging when you have a group of a committee that's out there banging on doors or knocking on doors, or maybe not knocking on the doors you thought they were going to do. Okay, so I highly encourage utilizing your auction software website to help you centralize the management of your sponsorship. And what I mean by that is most of the auction softwares out there now. I'm going to show you a site that's it's actually an Octria site. And as you know, if you turn into the program, I'm a huge fan of Octria. I'm just overwhelmed with how positive their software and how robust it is, and so value priced it is. I can't believe the value you receive for the investment that you make. And it truly is an investment. It's going to return itself over and over. So anyhow, you'll see on this page, now this event is still 203 days away, which I just love, right? The fact that they've got their site up 203 days before their event is more kudos to them, right? It's fantastic. But you'll also notice that we already have sponsors, which is even better, right? Because the fact that we're going to put the site up early like this is a great reason for you to be able to call your sponsors from this past year and say, hey, look, we really thank you for your support of last year's event. It was crucial to our success. It was fantastic. We're getting ready to start. I know it's a ways out. We're several months out, but we're going to start working on the event again. And I wanted to reach out to you to see if you were going to be able to support us again at the same level as you did this past year. Because if you are, that's fantastic. We don't necessarily need your check today. That's not what I'm asking. Just looking for a commitment, because if we don't have that commitment, times are tough and we need to start earlier to replace you if you're not going to be able to join us this year for whatever reason. So that gives you a perfect reason to reach out to those organizations and ask them to renew, right? And so many times I think the best time is the day after the event, right? If they had a great time, if you executed a good event, if they saw the value of their sponsorship, then you turned around the next day and said, hey, can we count you in next year? And they said yes, then home run, you're on your way, right? But the reality is, in this new virtual world, you're always coming up with some additional inventory, or you have some of those packages I showed you on the earlier screen are not limited, right? I said there was only one title sponsor, but you could have however many you wanted of that lower level sponsor. We don't care how many names we put on the slide or the website, right? We said that was even a positive to add more. So with that being said, what I do like about what Octria does is being able to create in essence, a catalog for sponsors. And so right here, you can see we put a link that says become a sponsor. We also put it right down here. Now is the time to sign up and become a sponsor of this wonderful community event, right? So you can click on become a sponsor now, and it's going to take you and it's going to show you a list of all the sponsorships that are available. Now, interestingly enough, okay, we'll go through this a little bit. I always put our top level sponsor at the top, right? That's where we want to be. Now, this one was a renewal and they committed to it. So as soon as they commit, we put their logo there and we mark it as sold out, right? Because why? Because when other people that we drive to the website as prospects or potential sponsors, we want them to come to the website. We want them to see that other people are already participating, right? That will motivate them. So with that being said, we turn around, we put that sponsor's logo here, and we only had one in our inventory, and so now it says sold out. So that's great. That sponsor feels good. They can see the level they were supporting at, which is fantastic, right? And then you can come down here further And one of the things I love is that you can set the inventory, so you can say, hey, even if maybe we're not truly limited, we could have more season MVP sponsors than 5. I might encourage you to put a number on there, because you can always increase it, right, as you go along. But start with a number. So that number, when you show that quantity remaining, it creates some urgency for that potential sponsor to say, hey, they only got 4 of these left. We better jump on it today, right? So, get after it. And so we just all the way down to our lowest level. And that's fantastic, right? And then do a good job of recognizing your sponsors. You noticed on the homepage here, we had a thank you to our sponsors right below the opportunity to become one, right? We have this already in place. And as always, we have an opportunity for you to make a donation. So if we can drive folks to this site, right? So this makes it easier for your committee. Your committee can drive people to the auction site and let the customer do the work, right? And it helps you to organize and know. The other thing that's wonderful about this is most of the time you can set these websites up to be pay later, or you pay immediately, right? And you can also automate their payments so that you can send them a statement right from the software, and it comes with a payment link, and they can punch on it, pay with their credit card. You're not, so many of the nonprofits that I work with, especially the smaller ones, the school-oriented ones, really down-home, community-oriented ones, tend to have a post office box somewhere that, some person on the committee is supposed to check, and they check it once a month or something like that. And you're trying to manage a business relationship with a sponsor who told you they mailed a check, right? And that can be frustrating. But if you are able to email them right from the auction software with a payment link, so that all they have to do is click and put in their credit card information, you've made life easier for them. They've got an instant receipt, and you're good to go. And then you can start communicating with them, securing their logo and things of that nature. So it's a powerful tool in this new environment, and I think it'll even be more powerful as we move forward. There's so many opportunities for companies to promote their goods and services, and as we look at some of the national level stuff are so expensive, and as a society we're becoming in many ways trendy in that we want to support local. And so what a great way for local organizations to get some notoriety and some exposure to your audience by supporting your auction event. So folks, it's been great visiting with you. I'm really excited about next week's program. I've got a good friend, Lindsay, who I work with as an auction client, but she's also a graphic designer. And I've been overwhelmed with her ability to theme, that's THEME, theme events. Over the last few years, we've worked together. I've asked her to come on the program talking about theming and coming up with a look for your event, and whether you're using a professional graphic designer or you have a volunteer on your committee. I can't stress enough, especially in this virtual world where we're trying to expand our demographics and expand our market past that really tight community that would fit in the ballroom. Now we're reaching out to a much bigger audience. The importance of, not necessarily theming doesn't mean, making it a masquerade party or a superheroes theme, as much as it means having a theme that is consistent throughout your event. If it's celebrating your school, if it's celebrating your mission, that's all part of the theme, but it's talking about pushing it all the way through your entire program. So Lindsay will be with us next week, and that will be fantastic. I want to remind you that our hashtag Fundraising Bidness Talk, please feel free to hashtag us when you see us. And then also We're every Wednesday live and right here at noon on the Pacific Coast. And we're excited to always have new guests, and it should be a lot of fun. So as we leave today, I want to remind you, it doesn't matter where you start the bidding. It's all about where you finish. All right. I appreciate you joining us today, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. And as always, please bid high and bid often.